much money do I need to buy a house? There's a couple dollars in there. This is a question that people ask all the time. How much money do I need to buy a house? Okay, well, let's talk about this. There's a couple of different things. Everyone always talks about down payment. So you need X amount of dollars. What is that? That's between you and the lender. But I'm going to use an example. So let's just say you're buying a $500,000 house. All right. If you're buying it VA, you have the option to put 0% down towards the down payment. FHA could be 3.5%, right? And conventional could be 3%, 15,000, 17, so 15,000, 17,500, or 0. That's if you're qualified for that. Now, you can put as much as you want. You could put down 20%, and there's benefits to that. So there's minimal amounts. VA, 0. FHA, 3.5. Conventional, 3%. There's no money down first-time homebuyer programs. Not FHA. Remember, FHA is not necessarily a first-time home buyer program. There's just different programs out there. Okay, that's your down payment. Well, how much more money do I need? Well, depending on market, there's also closing cost, which is roughly around 3%. Now, we can get the seller to contribute that. Again, that's for a separate video, but I'm just going over this. So there's your down payment. There's also closing costs, which is roughly 3%, okay? Then you also have to remember, there's escrow, which is the good faith deposit. There's home inspection, appraisal. Oh, wait a minute, that seems like a lot of money. It can add up, but let's talk about it now in order. Okay, first, you're looking to buy a house, and let's just say you're a conventional buyer, and you find a $500,000 house. Right off the bat, let's just say you and the seller agreed to a 1% escrow, which is a good faith deposit that will go towards the money at the end. Because remember, when you buy a house, all that money doesn't come out of pocket or whatever else till the end. So when you're buying it, the closing date, weeks down the road. Okay, so you're buying a $500,000 house. The first thing due is the 1%. That's $5,000. That's going to go towards the escrow, which is normally roughly about 3 days into a contract. Okay, $5,000, boom. All right, now I need to do an inspection on the house. Well, I got to pay for that. I'm the buyer. That could be $400 to $500, $600, depending if it's, you need a 4-point, right? You're doing a home inspection. Does it have a septic? Does it have well? Does it have a pool? It's depending on what inspections you're doing. It's a couple $100 right there. Okay, now that's done. Well, you do need to get an appraisal, and the bank's going to make you pay for that. So you have to pay for the bank appraisal. Maybe that's $500, $600. Okay. Does the house need surveys? Does the seller not have the surveys? Which I don't understand why. That's a video for another day. Right now, you have to come up with the down payment and potentially the closing cost, which is another 3% and 3%, which is $30,000 if the seller is not contributing towards closing costs. So to buy a $500,000 house, as if you, the buyer, had to pay for everything, you have the escrow, which will minus at the end, the home inspection, the appraisal, the surveys, and then the $30,000 down payment minus the $5,000 for the escrow. So about $25,000 plus the hundreds and hundreds. So let's say $26,000, $27,000 at the end, right? $32,000 altogether. When you're buying a house, there's a lot of different things that you have to pay for, okay? But there's ways to get around things. And this is why it's important to follow me. Because I can show you how I can get the seller to contribute towards your closing costs, which will save you a ton. Maybe there's a fund program out there that you can apply for that maybe is 0% down. There's so many different avenues that you can go through to buy a house if you don't have that much money. There's gift funds that you can get from family members for another video. So keep following me. Let me show you how we can take money and put it back in our pockets and save it when buying a house. Because it's important to understand all this stuff. This is why I love what I do. And it's January 3rd. And we got all year to talk about all the stuff you want to talk about. So keep following me for more education.